I'm Karen.
And I'm Rob. And Karen, very special Major League Eventing podcast here.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
Kind of a podcast.
It's kind of a podcast. We're doing podcasts, we're doing video, we're doing all types of stuff. People who are watching the video side of this are getting to see my big old fat head.
Oh.
So today we have a panel on surviving and thriving during this unprecedented time, the pandemic that we're dealing with. Everyone across the world is dealing with this. So with the help of Margaret Rizzo McKelvey and Mythic Landing Enterprises, Margaret helped assembled a panel of experts. So we're bringing these experts to hopefully help everyone at home who's maybe struggling, maybe get some answers to some questions, and hopefully we can ease the pain and maybe help some folks out. So on the panel, we'll introduce everyone first, and we'll ask everyone to just say a few words about themselves. On the panel, we have Courtney Cooper of C-Square Farm and Excel Star Sporthorses. So welcome, Courtney. We have, again, Margaret Rizzo McKelvey from Mythic Landing Enterprises. We have Pam Saul from Saul Bookkeeping. And we have India Wilkinson from Topline Equestrian Media. Marketing, excuse me. So, Topline Equestrian Marketing. I'm a terrible reader, Karen. And everyone can see now my fat face trying to read and talk at the same time. So, with that, I'm going to stop talking for a second. And how about we start with Courtney? Can you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself and the business that you operate?
Sure. I'm a 5-star event writer. I did Kentucky back in 2016 and 17. I have 2 businesses. I have C-Square Farm, which is sort of our domestic arm for training and consignment sales and sort of horses that we've bred. We train people up through the levels in eventing as well as hunter jumpers and dressage. And then we have the Excel Star Sporthorses website and business, and that's importing international horses, both for amateurs, young riders, and professionals.
Wow. Now, Courtney's kind of laying it low a little bit here, but over the past 3 years, I have it on good authority that over the past 3 years, Courtney sold, I don't know, somewhere around, 160 horses, Courtney? Is that true?
Something like that. I usually do like 50, between 40 and 50 a year.
Whew.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's
Goodness.
a lot. So, if you're looking for a horse, Courtney knows how to source them.
I'm in the market.
There we go.
You guys can talk after.
We can do an online auction while we're here. Margaret, can you tell us a little bit about you and Mythic Landing?
Yeah, so Mythic Landing, we are based in Maryland, but we serve clients all over the country. We have a lot of equestrian clients, but we also have some non-horse people that we work with. And basically we do full service marketing and business management.
All right. Sounds awesome.
Nice.
Everyone makes it so nice and sounds so simple, but there's a lot going on there. And then Pam, can you tell us about your business, Pam?
Sure. So my family is Rolling Acres Farm, Rolling Acres Show Stables, and my sister Mary Lisa Leffler is a Grand Prix rider. And so my background is in the farm with horses, and I was the sister that did the books. So I ended up helping other people, and then I've also gone into mainstream as well. So Saul Bookkeeping is a remote bookkeeping service, and so I take care of the books that people don't want to have to deal with. I do all that for everybody.
And we'll be talking to Pam
Including
after this. Can you do bookkeeping when you don't make money? Is that, I guess that's, well, we'll talk about that later.
Yes, you just have to make enough money so it's not a hobby.
Well, we do that.
Yeah.
We do that. India, tell us about yourself and your business.
Hi. So I own Topline Equestrian Marketing, and you've probably never heard of me or my company because I actually operate behind the scenes. So what I do best is put together sponsorship partnerships for events, venues, riders, but I always represent the company. So you don't see me. I always put the client in the forefront of that. So what I love to do best is maximize sponsorship opportunities, revamp sponsorship packages, secure sponsorships, sell sponsorships, manage sponsorships, but also on the brand side where I represent the sponsor. I don't do them at the same shows, but I do represent the sponsor and making sure that their benefits are fulfilled, they're getting maximum exposure before, during, and after the event. So I've been on both sides. I've been in corporate marketing for 25 years. So I've been the sponsor, and I've also run the events where I've sold sponsorships. So I've kind of found this niche in helping both, and I love it. I believe that sponsorship marketing is just the best way to promote a brand. So, and thank you for having me here.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
and you know what India does is kind of we're all about the sponsors and making sure the sponsors get back, and because without sponsors we have no eventing. So without sponsors and vendors getting back their investment, they leave, and we see that more and more. So we need to get those vendor villages much more boosted up. So all right, so let's get right into it, everybody. So we'll just start off. Things are tough right now, Karen.
Yes.
And obviously many people are struggling. Many people are out of work. Many people's businesses, equestrians and corporate America alike, businesses are struggling. So let's just start right off with it. We have a bunch of questions that came in. So let's just start right off. Pam, this one's going to go to you. So a question that we had was, how do we handle cash flow issues? That's a pretty broad question, but it sounds like it's up your alley.
Sure, it sounds good. Well, the first thing you have to recognize is that everybody's in the same boat. We're all dealing with the same issues where we've lost our cash flow, but we still have the expenses. We still have to take care of the horses. We still have our staff. We have that to do. So what you need to do is look at what you have coming in and maybe make some changes. Do you need to go to your creditors and say, look, can I have an extra 30, 45, 60 days on my loan until I can get myself where I need to be? You can go to your vendors and say, can I hold off for 30, 60, 90 days until I get, my feet back under me? And realize that everybody's in the same boat. Maybe you can barter. Instead of having to pay cash for things, maybe you can do something for someone else and have them do something for you. So there are various different things you can do, but the most important thing you need to do is be able to see your books and know that they're updated and the information you have on them is current, so that you know what cash you do have come in, who owes you, how much they owe you, when you're going to see that. Those kind of things become really important when cash is tight.
Absolutely. Anyone have anything to add to that? Nobody?
I think
just
the
to
other
add
thing,
in, like,
I know.
I was going to say, just to emphasize what Pam was saying is, like, this is why it's so important to have your books in good order. Because when you're in the situation, you're really going to have to take a really close look at everything. And if it's not already organized, you're going to be, wasting time getting things organized so that you can move forward.
Gotcha. Courtney, what do you have to say?
Well, I was also going to tell you that I know that a lot of riders and farms have looked at the PPP and the EIDL loans from the government, and I think, your personal banks and your banking relationships can help you with those, and so that can offer some relief as well, because of the unprecedented situation we find ourselves in.
Karen, do you have anything to add to that about the banking side?
Yeah, so my day job, I work at a bank, and we're a small community bank in Delaware, and we've had a lot of small businesses come in, and we've been giving out quite a bit of loans. Right now we're on a standstill because of what's going on with the government, and but we're still trying to help those businesses that still need a loan. So we're doing our best.
So right now it's kind of on like a little bit of a standstill with the government.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
at the time of recording, so hopefully that opens up.
Yeah, hopefully we're hoping.
Yeah.
It's looking good, but.
Gotcha. And are you seeing that a lot of banks, like your bank, is starting with clients that are people that bank with you already? Is that a rule?
No.
That's not a rule. That's just
just because we're a small bank, we thought we would help our own customers first, and then second would be businesses within the area, within our footprint.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Every bank is different. Every
Yeah.
bank has a different application. Every bank has a different way that they're getting the money out. I did over 20 of the grant applications. I have one client who's gotten it, and the bank made her do a separate account for the PPP money, and she has to put her payroll through that account. So it depends on the bank what they want to do.
Yeah.
Wow. And is that to prove that the people are staying working and that the loan is...
Right, and I had to hot-foot it and get the payroll company to attach to an account that they didn't have. So jumping through hoops. It's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
This will go to Margaret. How to keep your clients involved and engaged?
I mean, well, that's a big question. I think that, this is when the internet and social media and technology really comes in handy, especially since, the barn is typically the place where you gather and see your clients, and now you're not able to do that. So obviously every business is different. One thing that I'm telling a lot of my clients to do that unfortunately have had to shut their barns down to their borders is to do Facebook Lives, on a regular basis, a few times a week, so that all of the clients can see their horses and, feel a little bit of that interaction between, that normal interaction that you would have at the barn that you're not able to right now. And so that's one thing you can do on more of a, one-on-one side, and then really utilize all forms of communication that you have. Whether it is having, like Courtney has a WhatsApp group for a lot of her clients and stuff that you can just send out little things from throughout the day that to you might not be a big deal, but to some of your clients that literally are stuck at home and not able to go see their horses, like that could be what gives them a little bit of a smile that day. Use your social media outlets, and that's more when you get beyond your individual clients, your one-on-one clients, into your broader audience. Same thing, you never know that someone who is sitting at home because they can't go to work or they can't go to the barn or whatever, they may be looking at your social media outlets. Right now they might be looking at it for entertainment, but once we're able to go back to normalcy, whatever that normalcy is, because we don't really know, once they're able to go back to normalcy, they'll be able to say like, oh, hey, like that person, was posting all of this stuff, and your name's kind of at the top of, their brains a little bit. So really just utilize everything that you have, and it's gonna seem like more work now in a way, and it's just how it's gonna be, I think, for a little bit to keep everybody happy.
Gotcha. And you see that a lot right now. You're seeing a lot of the riders are doing Facebook Lives and things like that to try to get the social media going, which I think is really good, because the equestrian space in general, in my opinion, is very late to that game. So, especially the riders have been so reluctant for so long to as far as I can tell, especially trying to get them for guests and things like that. I mean, they're just very reluctant. It's like, hey, I'm a horse person. I ride horses. I train horses, and they don't really have time for technology. I mean, Courtney, you don't care so much about social media. I mean, would I be correct in saying that?
I'm not on social media at all. What are you talking about? Yeah, I mean,
She has me.
Margaret and I'm a big listener to podcasts and YouTube videos, and sort of listening to business consultants, and sort of, I think the thing that everybody is worked up about now is that this is just a one of a kind situation. And I don't think, yes, I think the world pandemic is a one of a kind situation. I mean, obviously it's much different than the other illnesses that have come and gone before this, but from a business standpoint, it's not that different that we've had major shifts and major changes. I mean, if you look at the horse selling business, even 8 years ago, it was all ads. The Chronicle of the Horse, used to have 6 pages of ads at the back, and you'd flip through them, and you didn't do videos, and you didn't do anything. And so I think the challenge is not to say, how are we going to survive, but what are we going to do to change to survive, and what's the opportunity in this? And so I think in terms of, going out and talking to people, and your question was really like, how do you interact with people? You pick up the phone and you text them and you send them voicemails, and you don't necessarily look at making money right now. I don't think that's the end goal, because I think there's anxiety and nervousness and concern, but you look at how you can be of service. And it gets back to what Margaret was saying, is if you can be of service and if you stay in the game, you will have clients when we come out of this. Like, we're in winter right now, and everybody's all worked up that we're not competing, but we don't compete usually in November and December and January. Like a lot of us don't compete in November and December and January. So sort of think of it like that, and like that spring is coming, and that there will be, new things to look forward to, and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We don't know when that light's going to get here, but the sun comes up every day, So I think people have to sort of change their philosophy about how to deal with this, and sort of how to reach out to people and to say, okay, things are different. There's going to be a new normal. How can we be of service, and how can we help people get through? Because some people are really having a very hard time financially. They're having a hard time emotionally or mentally. They've got loved ones that have been sick, and it's a stressful time. And so if you can have them, like we did a video for Salesforce on hacking, but it was a really fun video. Like, it was like going out hacking in the woods for 5 minutes, like, and cantering and walking and trotting, and like we sent it out to the video group that Margaret was talking about, and people just loved it, because they really enjoyed sort of going out with their horses. So those are some of the things that we've done. But I think reaching out and connecting, like people, like we had a sponsor shout out yesterday for VTO, and usually we just do a little written blurb, and Margaret's great at writing them up for us. And I was like, Margaret, let's do something different. We had a little video clip between the owner, Paul Arnold, and me, just because I think people want to see other people. Like, they want to react to other people. They want to have a closeness and a connection. So that's what we've been doing.
I think it's fantastic. And hopefully this type of thing stays. This is kind of the positive that can kind of come out of this, is everyone that's all of a sudden really valuing the attention, and valuing the relationship side, are going to start to, this will carry on. We're going to get in the habit of this now, and it's going to become the new norm. And I think only good things can come from that. So.
Yep.
And one thing, just to India and I were talking last week about, and kind of going off what Courtney was saying too, is now isn't the time to concentrate on making money. Now's the time to give back. And India, I don't know if you want to talk about, that a little bit.
Well, let's just roll right into that.
Really
Let's roll right on into it. Let's have at it.
Yeah, I would love to. So one of the things that I talk to my clients and my team about is having a here to serve mindset rather than here to sell. And what happens, and it's really cool when you wake up in the morning and you have that mindset of, how can I serve someone? How can I serve my sponsors? How can I serve my clients? How can I serve my owners? How can I serve my team today? It changes everything about your communication. So what that does, instead of like what Courtney was saying, have this desperation of, I've got to sell these horses, it changes that into, I'm here to help you. What can I do to help you? And just having that, it's funny because it seems like it's a big deal, but you can literally change your mindset just like that. You can decide right now, I'm going to serve. And I'm going to have that attitude of how I can serve. And what magically happens is that you end up having more retention and more appreciation and more gratitude. And those things serve you longer in the long run. Instead of thinking like, right now I'm in this panic, because panic actually scares people. they're looking for clarity. They're looking for you to be the leader. And even if you really don't know what you're doing, which a lot of us don't, just by getting out there and saying, I'm here to help you, you know, how can we do that together? Everyone takes a deep breath and everyone goes, okay, all right, we can do this. And it's really cool to see, you know, I do a lot of business coaching, and to see people say, I don't know, because I've got to get these sales, I've got to get this right now, but really helping them understand that by serving and having that heart, everybody, it just dials everything down. And in the end, everybody benefits, you know, from that attitude. So it's really cool to hear Courtney say that, because that's something that I am so, my core believes that, you know, I want to serve. And so what happens when I'm in my sponsorship marketing, my clients know that, you know, and that comes across, and I have so much loyalty. I work with the same people all the time. And it's really cool to hear somebody who is, to me, is like, you know, such a star, and to have that same mindset. So
She is a superstar, Karen.
It's true.
She is a superstar. I know I get all nervous around her.
I'm blushing.
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead, Courtney.
No, I was just saying, you know, you know, our business premise and sort of what we've always done is that, you know, there's no, you know, like, oh, how do you sell horses? And it's like, the horses have to sell themselves, and they have to be the partnership. And it's about the long-term game. It's about, you know, what is, Simon Sinek is one of the people I listen to, and he's about, what is your why? You know, and your why is not to ride on the international teams, or not to go make $1 billion. Those are all results. But, you know, our why is to help people reach their goals and ambitions. And that would be the same as if I were making cake balls for everybody, that I, you know, like that would be something I want to do. Like, I want to do that to the best of my abilities, to have those people be happy to do whatever they want with those things. And so I think if you dial into why you're doing what you're doing, you know, that it's not about selling the horse, it's not teaching this lesson, it's not about having the borders, it's not about all of those things. It's about, you know, ultimately I'm trying to, you know, help people reach their goals. I'm having to help them fulfill their dreams. That's my why, whether or not it's selling horses or mowing the grass or, you know, painting the fence or whatever. That's sort of my goal. And so I think the more people can dial into it, the easier it is to make decisions based on that, rather than, oh my God, I've got to do this, or oh my God, I think people feel that panic and they feel that stress, and they already have, you know, it up to here with the COVID-19 stuff. So.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
I love that. We're very like-minded people here, because I have a very similar mindset, Karen.
Yes, you do. You sure do.
So I just thought it seemed
Can I ask one more remark on that?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
So when you get to this mindset, sometimes you have to look at things differently. And a lot of what Rolling Acres Farm has done in the past, I'd say 5 years, is we've changed financially how people are leasing or selling horses. Like, I can tell you 10 years ago, nobody ever did a payment plan to buy a horse. That was not heard of. And now we're doing payment plans, we're doing partial leases, we're doing leases monthly as opposed to yearly. So sometimes when you're talking about these new things, you may have to look at how you're doing things differently and make adjustments that help people that aren't able to do things as we used to, how we do it now. And one of the things that's going to be cash flow is going to be difficult for everyone. So maybe we need to do something different in order to help them to be able to continue to do what they like to do.
Gotcha. Well, along those lines, the next question I kind of had coming up was, this was actually for you, Pam. So it was about working with clients in regards to missed and late payments. So you just talked about, hey, you have to sometimes restructure. Let's, you know, do some things we wouldn't normally do, like go monthly or quarterly or something. But what about the people that are missing plans? How are you dealing with that, and how do you work around that?
So if if you're on the side of receiving the money and you're not getting the money in now, there are a couple things that you can think about to do that may help both sides. You may be able to say if you've got something that's due in 30 days, have it due in 60 days. You're still getting the same amount, but maybe you're waiting a little bit longer. Or maybe you can review your client list and see who owes you the most, and maybe talk to them first and say, look, you know I have this much is due from you. Can I at least get 50%? Can I get 65%? Can I get a portion of it, not pay the whole thing? And this goes along with the same thing of checking with your clients to see how they're doing. You know, if they're really having difficulties, at least you'll know why, and you won't feel, it won't go into you to say, oh, they're trying not to pay me. Instead, it's they're having difficulties, and let's see what we can do to work with them. Maybe you can offer a discount. If someone can pay in 10 days, offer a 2% discount. Say, pay in 10 days, you get 2% off. So they see it, it's a deal for them and it's a deal for you. You get the cash and they get 2% off. Can you provide them services even if they are not, if they're shut down? If they're like, if you've got a client and their business is shut down, what is your decision? You need to make that decision ahead of time. Am I still going to provide the services even if they can't pay me? And this is where you're thinking about long term. Maybe for this 30, 60 days they can't pay me, but if I continue working with them and provide services, at the end of this, they're going to be, they're going to feel that I was with them and supported them, and they'll stay with me and be part of my continuing of my business. So there are a lot of different things you can do. You've got to look at what you want to do and what you're able to do.
Gotcha. Anyone add anything to that? That sounded pretty good. That's pretty solid.
I've done this for a long time.
Pam needs
She's
no
pretty great.
rebuttals. No, but you know what? And there are a lot of manufacturers and things like that. Like we were talking to some folks, and a lot of the, like France and Italy, those guys do a lot of manufacturing, and those guys are obviously shut down just as a lot of American manufacturing. So, it goes pretty deep, this thing, especially with our whole world is so international. Everything we do. I mean, Courtney, how many horses have you imported since this happened? It's just everything's shut down. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, actually, we did 2, and then they just reopened. Actually, Ireland on Monday. So,
gotcha. Well,
knock on wood, I have a couple of people who are interested in doing something. So, Ireland's been on lockdown, and they can't drive more than 2 kilometers away from their house. So, actually, most of us are pretty lucky because, if they drive a whole lot longer than that, they run into the Garda, which is not a great fun thing to do. So they haven't been looking a lot. But so I'm hoping to fill those orders soon. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. So India, we have a couple questions. So we have one from an upper level rider, and they say, I'm worried about my sponsors. What are some ways that I could keep them happy since I'm not able to go to shows and promote them?
That's a really good question. So I know there's a lot of pressure from both sides. So the sponsor is wondering, what are we doing? And the rider is thinking, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
I think the bigger picture is to, and it's just like we've been talking about, Margaret was talking about this, that now's the time to expand ways to promote your sponsors and make sure that people know about your sponsorships other than shows. This is a great time because most people aren't traveling, so they do have some downtime. This is a great time to, and I'll get back to the core of that, but this is a great time to create social media content. If you don't know how to do that, you hire someone like Margaret. But really it's about communication. So it's exactly what Pam was saying, exactly what Courtney was saying. It's about communication. So silence can signify a negative feeling for both. So maybe the sponsor is like, what's going on? Are they going to do anything? And the rider is like, I don't want to ask because I don't want to jeopardize this relationship. So I would suggest that the rider be the first person to make that move and to say, and just to extend that offer for communication. You know, I know sometimes the writers are really close with their sponsors. They become good friends. And sometimes there's a corporate sponsorship behind that, and maybe there's a representative they talk to. But either way, no matter the relationship, you know, be brave. these, you know, if you're an equestrian, you're so brave. So be brave and reach out and just say, what, you know, I'm in this. Let's brainstorm. I'm with you. That, you know, and it's just the theme of what we've been talking about, having that servant's mind, you know, that servant mentality of, I'm here, I want to help, we're all in this together, what can we do together? And I think you'll see an immediate, again, deep sigh, okay, we're in this together, what can we do? You know, and it's a time to get creative. So some of the things that I talk to my clients about, sponsors want to feel connected to your network. So you are the gateway to this massive network. And the more connected you are to your network, the more connected that sponsor feels, right? So the most connected riders, the ones that have a lot of engagement, sponsors love them. And it's an easy thing to do right now. You know, it's easy to do through video. Videos are 300% more likely to be opened than a text or an email. They're really easy to do, and you can do them from your iPhone. You know, people don't expect right now professional videos. They want to see behind the scenes. So there's a couple of ways, really two ways. You can entertain and you can educate. So entertaining, you know, like Jimmy and Dom are, you know, so funny, and they connect with their audience through that. They're hardcore equestrians. And then you saw Jessica and Doug Payne did the reversal challenge. Yeah. But people love that, you know, and they want to see that the riders are real people. That's something that for an amateur rider to know that an upper level rider, they're just real people, and connecting is so important to that sponsor. So the communication first, ask, what can we do? Be proactive. Here are some ideas. Here's what I'd like to do. What do you think about this? You know, and have that dialogue of, do you like this? You know, what can we do? Having those videos, do a behind the scenes, you know, in the barn. I mean, people love to feel connected to the horses. What is a normal day like? What are the working students doing? And incorporate the sponsors in with that. You know, have the products, have the working student talk about why they love this product or why they love the saddles. But hearing directly from somebody, I don't know if it was Pam or Margaret that said it, but or maybe it was Courtney, but just seeing people right now is so important. And in the horse world, my day hasn't really changed that much. I'm actually able to go to the barn, and I'm not able to take lessons, but I was able to connect with some online shows. So my day hasn't changed very much. I work from home already, but you know, like we were saying, there's so many people that are stuck at home that really can't do anything, and seeing their favorite rider and seeing that, the sponsor is going to love that. The sponsor is going to love to know that you are being proactive and you're connecting, and that you're open to ideas, and you're ready to be real, you know, and just putting it out there. And I think that really at the end of the day, it's all about communication. So like I said, silence can send a negative message, and communication can really draw people together, so that you know that you're both in this. And you know, the best thing is like, if something doesn't work, just change it. You know, like there's nothing that's set in stone right now. So you know, look for ideas, be creative, hire someone like Margaret, you know, but just be willing to get out there and represent your sponsor, so that they know that you are connecting them with your network.
Gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Love it, love it.
I'm going to just chime in there really quick. So one of the biggest things that I hear from my clients, from the professional riders that I work with, whenever I ask them to do a video, I can almost visualize them cringing anytime I ask them to do a video, And I think a lot of it is because they think that any video that they do needs to be this like highly produced thing with like hair, makeup, and, you know, spotlights and all that stuff. But like India was saying, this is the age of the iPhone and other sorts of FaceTime and like all of that stuff. There is a time and place to do a very highly produced video, but there's also many more times to just do a quick behind the scenes, you know, selfie type thing of like, hey, this is what we're doing. And especially now, since people aren't able to see their favorite horses or their favorite riders out at the horse shows, give them that little behind the scenes look in your barn. And, you know, meet the most, you know, like the top horse, you know, and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to do your makeup. You don't have to, you know, do all of that. You just need to be real. And I think that people really appreciate that and connect with that.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
So I do night check every night. Me and my ponies, I do night check. And what I've been doing is I've been taking a picture of their nose kissing the camera on my phone and then sending it to the owners saying good night.
Wow.
And that means more to them than anything else because they can't be here, and I'm showing them that they still have a connection.
Wow. I love it.
Works out well.
I love it.
That's nice.
And according to Mark,
Just one more thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the ideas that I was talking with one of the riders is to wear a helmet cam, and you can do that speed thing, you know, but just show them your day. You know, I think that it's, you know, that people really want to know what do you do? What happens, you know, in the barn? You know, like Margaret was saying, you know, or this behind the scenes, but wear a helmet cam and show people this is my crazy day. People love that, and they will connect to that. And there's a way to infuse sponsors in with that. You can do that separately, one sponsor at a time, or you can do that with, you know, with merging the sponsors. You know, that's something that like someone like Margaret can help you with. But it's just cool for people to see what's happening in your barn. They never get that opportunity. You know, like you're saying, like, just be real, you know, let people see who you are, and sponsors appreciate that. I've been on that side. They want to know what's happening. It's why, like, the Kentucky Derby does 5 hours of, you know, pre-race where they show the owners and they show where the babies are. And the more people are educated on a brand, the more loyal they are. So feeling connected to the rider then helps them feel connected to the sponsor. So everybody wins.
I love
Sorry,
it.
I'm very
Love it, love it. I'd say, Courtney, we want to see a helmet cam on Courtney, time lapse. That's coming soon.
Yeah,
sponsored by.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So India, like going back to sponsors, now someone that's an owner of equestrian products, now they're saying their sales are down and they're trying not to panic. What are some ways that they can increase sales without spending money on more ads?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So behind that thought process is fear. You know, so you hear that, like, what am I going to do? You know, I don't want to spend more money. And so the first thing that I would say is, you know, take a deep breath. This is going to end, but we are going to have a new normal. So things have to change, just like on the rider side, you know, the sponsor side has to change as well. So thinking about what can you do differently. If a sponsor doesn't have a way to sell or promote products online, that has to change right now. So there has to be a revenue stream coming in virtually somehow, because a lot of sponsors depend on the shows to promote their products, and that could change. We just don't know what's going to happen. Even though, like, I'm in Atlanta and Georgia is opening up, what does that mean? Does it mean that in a month we could shut down again? Maybe. So things have to change. And this time, I heard something on, I love podcasts, as Margaret knows, and I've listened to the ones that she suggested, and I love just listening to business coaches and life coaches, but wait and see is not a plan. So right now is a great time to figure out how you're going to change that. So when you think about what am I going to do right now, you really have to change that mindset, what we were talking about earlier, and thinking about the long term and connecting, growing your audience. And I know it's hard because all you're thinking about is cash flow coming in, but I think like using I was making notes when Pam was talking, but thinking like that, and communication, and figuring out different ways that you yourself have to figure out cash flow. But, in the meantime, connect with your customers. Tell them that you appreciate them. And I would suggest not doing that by email. I don't know about y'all, but I am overwhelmed with the COVID-19 emails and what people are doing. And I just don't respond to them. There's some really cool apps that you can actually text your customers if you have their phone numbers and, a simple card, or, this is the time to do those kinds of things where you let people know this is the low-hanging fruit, your current customers, that you appreciate them, you appreciate their loyalty, you appreciate their business, you appreciate what they've done for you, and they are less apt to cancel an order, and they're more apt to continue to stay loyal if they know that you see them. I think that's what the theme is in all of this. I see you and I appreciate you. The other way, is to reward those customers. How do you do that? Well, you do that through a referral program. So where you, that's appreciating those customers. And then we all know this, the best way to acquire a new client is from a referral. And it happens all the time. It happened the other day in the barn. Someone was like, what do I use for this summer itch? And everyone was ordering right on their phones. And just because we trusted the girl that for, fungus, like we trusted her that it worked for her. I didn't know. I ordered it on the spot. So that's the best thing that we can do is help our customers give us referrals. So reward them for doing that. Give them a percentage off. Give them free product. Reward the new customer. Expand that customer base. So it goes back to communication. The other thing you can do is engage them. Engage them in like an online contest. So maybe you work with your sponsored rider, or you get in touch with events that you've sponsored before, and get creative. Do a contest where they have to do a video, but then they tag you and then they tag 5 friends. So you're expanding that network. And it's really all about is staying engaged, because Margaret and I were talking about this. Who are you going to be on the other side of this? We don't know how long it's going to last. Mm-hmm. And are you, as a brand, when things open, people are going to be like, oh, there you are. Like, where have you been? Or are they going to see you as someone who has been serving and who has been appreciative and who has recognized their customers? We see it all the time on commercials right now, right? So you see the restaurants that have a plan, like mm-hmm. Chick-fil-A has a plan. So I go to Chick-fil-A because I know they have a plan. They tell me exactly how they're preparing their food. They give it to me on a tray. I'm good. I want to know what that plan is. So that's something that we have to do, is be present and tell our customers, here's our plan. And that can be for any brand. It can be for any brand, any business, any rider. When you give your network a plan and here's what I'm doing, it just helps everybody to kind of relax. So the moral of the story is communication and creativity. So because it's the same thing. That and the rider question, it goes hand in hand. It's all about communication and working together.
I love it.
I get a little excited about this. Can you tell?
I love excitement. I'm all about it. I'm usually the wound up one, so this is.
I love my sponsor.
Margaret, we have a question here. It says, can you offer any services online and still get some income?
Yeah, you have to get creative. So it depends on where you're at in the country right now. Where am in Maryland, the Maryland Department of Ag through the Maryland Horse Industry Board basically told everyone that boarders are not allowed at boarding facilities. However, you still have but you still have that base of the horse community that has horses at home and stuff like that. And so their routines aren't really being changed. So there's things you can do. You can do virtual lessons. And a lot of times one of the barriers to doing that is not everyone has those Pixio cams and stuff like that. So one thing that we're offering with one of my clients is if you just take a video of you riding that day, and it doesn't have to be very long, but if there's a specific issue that you're working through or something like that, get a video of it, send it via WhatsApp to the trainer, and then they'll call you and kind of talk you through the problem or give you some tips and stuff. So it's not in any way going to replace a one-on-one lesson like people are used to, but it's something, you know, it's some sort of guidance. And again, if you're that person that was able to help someone virtually, even if it was on a small scale, when people are allowed to start trailering out and stuff, they're probably going to think to you first. And so that's kind of the main way with, in terms of people that make most of their income from teaching lessons and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Courtney can talk to this a little bit more about sales, because that's something else that has been really affected by this, because again, people are, depending on where you live, under stay-at-home orders, and they're not able to just hop in the car and go see a horse for sale or something like that. But, you know, Courtney and I had this conversation this week or last week where I was like, we need to tell people why it's a good idea to buy a horse right now, you know, because a lot of people are like, why am I going to buy a horse? I can't even go to the barn where I keep it, you know, or I don't even have a place to keep it right now because, you know, some places are that shut down. And so really telling them like why it is a good idea to buy a horse and giving them as much video as you possibly can. Again, this is why we have FaceTime. You know, it's to, usually people can come to a barn, see a horse in the barn, watch it get tacked up, all of that. And if I was buying, I would want to see how the horse behaved in the barn, not just while being ridden. Well, now it's just like do a FaceTime or WhatsApp or whatever and walk people through that. Because again, this is what's, I don't even want to call it normal right now, but this is what's normal right now. We don't know what the new normal is going to be, you know, so you might as well try to get ahead of the game right now, and just work with people the best you can.
I think that's really smart too, to say, you know, we have a little bit of time now, take some more of the video around at the barn getting tacked up, because that's really not what you see in sales videos, because we don't really have time for that type of stuff. I mean, it's everyone's so daggone busy. You know, this is a time where you say, all right, we have a little bit of time. Yeah, so I think that's a brilliant idea. Totally awesome. Hey,
Can I?
oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
What Margaret was saying. So, as an amateur, like having that feedback is huge. So I think a lot of, you know, people kind of take that for granted, that or underestimate how powerful that feedback is. And, you know, I've entered some online shows, and honestly, it was so fun having something to focus on other than just the negative stuff that's out there. It was really fun. And there's a lot of shows, and then I saw on the Facebook page, I think the Online Writers Collection, is that what it's called? I can't, maybe my notes are wrong, but it was something that where, like Margaret was talking about, where you submit a video and then the trainer over
Mm-hmm.
voiceovers. It's really cool.
Right.
And like the feedback that I got was different than what I get from my trainer. You know, I mean, I'm getting it from somebody it's just like going to a clinic and, you know, just hearing that there are no corners in my serpentine. Well, that may not be a big deal to somebody, but that made a huge impact on me that I haven't heard before. So that's something that riders, upper level riders, can do right now. And I know there's the FEI stuff that's going on, but I want y'all to hear, like, it makes a big difference to amateurs, and it gives us something to focus on that's fun. And if we get a couple of things from it, that's huge to us. And like you said, maybe when a clinic comes up, maybe I will go to that clinic because I feel connected to that person, or maybe they're connecting with someone who is afraid to go to a clinic. I mean, it's, you know, we have to be brave to go do that and be called out in front of a lot of people. So to be able to kind of inch our way in by submitting a video and getting private feedback it's monumental. And I think that that's something that riders could do continuously. You know, this is something that could change. It could add a completely new revenue stream for riders and trainers, you know, down the road. But this is something where, like, you know, we're getting creative. But on the amateur side, it means a lot. It means a lot to us, and we appreciate that time. And I'm happy to pay for it. You know, I'm happy to pay $50, $100 to, you know, I don't have to go anywhere. I can do that in my ring. You can do that from your home. I'm happy to pay for that feedback. And I think there are a lot of people out there like me that would be willing to do that.
Yeah. Well, we sponsored in part some of the competitor tent did the stay-at-home dressage series, and again they had FEI level dressage judges that were going to score these cards and give feedback from he called it amoeba level eventing all the way up to FEI dressage. A lot of the FEI judges ended up bailing out because they were afraid. And really what it was is there was no placings, but it was just like you're saying. But again, and that's kind of the major league eventing thing, is we try to be inclusive of the amateur, the person who is not necessarily a USCA or an FEI level rider or person that doesn't have the budget to.
Can I add something here?
Sure.
What I was going to say is, like, I do think, you know, India, I think it's great, and I've done it for some of my clients where I've sent courses for them to set up, and then they send me a bunch of WhatsApps, and we do what you were saying is we put them together and we do a voiceover. But, you know, I've even been doing it, like right now I have a 4th level dressage horse that's getting ready to move up to St. George and Intermediate. I have not a lot of experience doing canter pirouettes, except for when a horse is spinning and spooking and I'm trying to stay on. You know, I don't have the knowledge. Like, who knew it was 8 steps for a canter pirouette? That is not something I knew. I sent video. It's 8 steps is a canter pirouette. But I sent a bunch of video to my coach, and she put them together, and then she did a voiceover and was like, okay, this is what you need to do here, and this is how you need to do that, and this is what you need to do here. And it's, you know, no, it's not real time, but it's okay, I can see that and I can feel that and I can do that. And then, you know, next week I'll try to improve that. And I think it's everywhere. I mean, like, if you're into learning, if you're into progress and into growing, which I think is universal in the human species, that, you know, we all want to improve. And so it's very easy. And it may be as simple as Margaret was saying, a little problem that you're dealing with and you don't know how to fix. Or it may be, look, I've got a young horse and can you give me a gymnastic or a rideability exercise, and I can play with it and put it together and you can give me some feedback. So I think all of those things are good. And I know that I've done some of that with my clients, because I'm usually home in Pennsylvania a month ago and I'm in South Carolina. So they're all sort of wondering where I am. So I've been helping them remotely.
Gotcha. Hey, can I, Courtney, while we're talking about this, I have 2 questions for you. One on both ends of the spectrum. One is you and the upper level horses. You know, how are you? What are the upper level horses doing right now? How do you keep them going? Are they off? And how do you keep them from burning out without having a schedule? And then the second part of that question is, what would be your advice to the person who is the amateur, who is a boarder, who maybe where they're at, they have a limit, they have a lot of these boarding barns now have a time schedule that you can come and visit your horse. So how does someone who is in that predicament gonna, how would you recommend they get the most out of their rides? And then also, how would you bring their horse back? Once we're kind of past this, how would you bring that kind of person that's only ridden 2 or 3 days a week and get their horse back? So start with your advanced horses and then maybe go back to the amateur and the border type of scenario.
Well, I would love to tell you I have some upper level, intermediate, and advanced horses right now, but 2 of them are injured. And so my eldest is 6 going preliminary. But, I have friends who have upper level horses, and that's preliminary horses geared down. And we're not doing a whole lot of jumping work with them. It's one thing if you're bringing a horse back from an injury and it needs to keep going and you need to sort of, stress it and do a little bit of canter work and a little bit of jumping work and make sure that whatever the injury is going to hold. But I think in general, the upper level horses I've been doing a lot of footwork stuff with. I've been doing a lot of trotting cavalettis in different arrangements around the ring, which, again, we don't get a lot of time to do. Usually that's not something I do a lot of with my horses because I don't have the time to do it and spend, because to teach cavaletti work properly really takes some time. So in terms of the upper level horses, I think most of them have backed down. I think most of them are doing dressage work and footwork exercises. I'm going to go into how do you bring them back. And I think it's no different for an amateur bringing back a young horse or a professional bringing up their upper level horses. So you've got to work the program and sort of go backwards. I think the hardest thing that we're going to have to deal with is when the USEF finally tells us we can go ahead and compete. Everybody's going to want to get out. But, most of us haven't been doing gallops, for our upper level horses. And the lower level horses maybe are working 4 days a week. And so you got to be careful. You've got to be saying to yourself, okay, I've got a competition a month away, 6 weeks away, and backtracking, okay, how do I get there? Because, it's sort of like, oh, I've been jogging 5 miles, I'm going to run in a marathon. It's a bad idea. So I think that's going to be the big thing, to not get too excited when we finally are allowed to compete and to say, oh, I've got an intermediate horse, I'm going to take him out intermediate. Maybe you go out and you do a preliminary once, to get your feet wet, go have a canter and, jump around. As for, the person who's got a time slot to get in there to go and see their horse and do whatever they can do, that's a challenge. And I think what you need to do is just sort of say, what's my goal? What outcome am I looking for? It's sort of like going into a committee meeting or a business meeting. Like, what's the outcome I'm looking for? And then again, work backwards and say, okay, I want to work on canter departs today. All right, let's, do some trot work and then, work on different exercises to get the canter depart. If you want to do a jumping footwork exercise, maybe what you do is you set it up the day before, if that's okay with your barn owner. So the day you arrive, you can sort of get in there, have someone on the ground, and you can work your exercise. But you have to be really cognizant of that you have a certain time frame. And I remember, very early in my career, I rode with Jimmy Wofford, and Jimmy was always very big and is still very big on educating and reading. And one of the things that he had me read was a lot of William Steinkraus, and he said, if you can't get it done in an hour, you're not going to get it done. So put the horse away, come back another day, try it a little differently, but don't keep hammering it away. So it's a blessing and a curse. If you've got an hour and a half to be in the barn, you've got an hour to try to get something done basically on your horse. And don't be, tomorrow's another day. The one thing I've learned during this time frame is don't be so wrapped up that you have to get something done today, because there's always tomorrow, and We don't have deadlines for the competitions that we have to say, okay, I really need to work on a flying change because I've got to be able to do a flying change in 2 weeks. Okay, the flying change didn't work out so well today. Okay, well, maybe I get some different exercises. Maybe I read some stuff. Maybe I do some different things. And so I can try that tomorrow, the next day, whatever. So I would say, don't get so worked up. And if you have a day where you have had enough of COVID-19 and you have paid too much attention to outside media, which is the one thing I would tell you not to do, go for a hack. Just go, get back to the reason we do what we do, which is, have a moment where you stick a horse on a lead and you just go graze them quietly, or, you lead them down to a wade in the pond with them, or you jump on them bareback with a halter and 2 lead ropes, or, any of those things where the best, Pam, you do night check. The best noise to me is when you walk in the barn and everybody's eating hay. Mm-hmm. And there's not another noise in the barn, but everybody is quietly munching their hay. Nobody's doing anything else. And, remember the tiny moments, because those, I think, are what's going to get us through. The moments where, you can appreciate the animal and the relationship and the partnership and what we do.
I love it. The silver lining.
Yes.
I love it. That is the plus to this, is that everyone gets a chance to take a little breath and remember what it's all about, Karen, we have a few more questions to get through. More back to the business side. That was wonderful, Courtney,
I know, that was
way.
great.
If I was on camera, I'd be getting a little misty. I hate when I get this way. I hate it. I hate when I get my cheeks are getting rosy. It might be the Blantons that is doing that.
So this question is for Pam. Pam, can you explain the differences between the traditional bank loans, the federal relief programs, and the state relief programs?
Right, so what most people know about is the Payroll Protection Plan, which is through the Small Business Administration, and that's a federal plan, and that's the one where you calculate 2.5 times your average monthly payroll, and you get that money if you use 75% of it for your payroll to continue to keep your staff, then that can be forgiven from you. So that's the one that you go through your bank to get. But at the same time, we watch that money disappear in a week? Mm-hmm. So you can't, a lot of people, I've done 20 of those grants so far, and I've only got 2 clients who've come through with the money. So that's not something that you can count on. It's just not there. The state also has one. Maryland had one, which was a $10,000 straight grant for everyone. I don't know a single person who got money, not one single person. So I haven't heard from any of the CPAs. None of them. They haven't had any money either. So that's really nice to have, but you can't count on that. So what you can do is you go to your bank and say, listen, this is what my current situation is. Could I get maybe a line of credit? The interest rates are much lower now. Maybe that's something that you can do, get a line of credit to be able to work through some things so you can continue. A lot of people, they're at the point now, they don't know whether they can keep going. And that's why it's so important to have your books updated and where they are, because a lot of your banks are going to say, okay, I want to see your tax return from 18 and 19. Well, if you haven't done them yet, or your books aren't up, you can't give them the information that they need. So, go to your bank, maybe get a line of credit, maybe see if you can increase your credit card. Another thing that you can do is see if you can decrease the interest on your credit card that's through your bank, because then you're not spending your interest isn't so high if you get that cut down. You also may be able to look at overall credit card companies now and see if anybody's doing a deal. Because a lot of people are doing deals where they're allowing you to roll over and not have the interest until 60, 90 days. Look and see if there's something out there that you can use. Also, maybe on your end, what you can do is offer to your clients a discount or a package or, you know, maybe see if there's something new that you've wanted to do and you haven't been able to do it. This might be the time to do it and offer it online. So a lot of times things that look bleak are the times when you have the ability to do things differently than you've done before and see how they work out. Yeah. Everybody's in the same boat. So, you know, work through it, see what you can do. See if you've got something that you can offer online. See if you can put together a package and offer things that normally people buy just one at a time. Put together a package and see if you can get that sale. So there are a lot of different things you can do. But as far as banking, go to your local bank and see what you can work with them and get done.
Gotcha. That was awesome.
Yes, it is.
Dang.
Good advice.
Good advice. Excellent advice. Karen, what else do we have there?
Let's see. We have a question for Margaret. If you're a client, either a boarder, student, or an owner, don't mind our dogs. What can you do to help the farm? What can you do to help your farm survive during this pandemic?
I think there's a lot you can do. If you're in a lucky situation where you're still able to work and so your income hasn't really been affected, and you usually, you know, take a weekly lesson, well, maybe just pay for the weekly lesson. You know, especially if you're in a situation where you board with, you know, a head trainer, you know, where your trainer's at the farm where you board. You know, this could just be the small thank you for all the times that person went out at, you know, whatever time to check on your, you know, colicky horse, or when it's 2 degrees outside and they're still out there taking care of them while you're at home. You know, this could just be a nice way of just like paying it forward a little bit. I'll tell you, like, I go to a yoga studio it takes me 5 minutes to walk there, and she has moved to doing online classes. And whether I have time to do that online class, because she's doing them through Facebook Live stuff, so you have to like log in, or she has to invite you and stuff. But whether I have time to go to that class or not, I'm signing up for it. I'm still giving her my money for that lesson for that yoga class, because it was something I was planning on doing. And I think it's just those small things. And, you know, like India was talking about, and it's about saying thank you, and that goes both ways. You know, now is the time that I think boarders and students can let their barn owners, let their instructors know that they do appreciate them, and that they are going to be there when this is over and when we can return to the barns. And like I said, just letting them know, because I think a lot of trainers and barn owners are kind of in this same boat of a little bit of panic, you know. I mean, again, I bring it back to Maryland. A lot of my clients are being told they cannot teach lessons, you know, and so their income is being, you know, I mean, cut in half. If they're lucky, only cut in half. And so just telling them that, you know, you're there, you get it, you'll be there when we're able to go back, I think means a lot.
Yeah, our little local barn right down the street that Karen has taught at, and our older son Robbie teaches at, they're
on hold.
They're on hold. They are out of business, and they just posted that they also do weddings there, and they had to cancel all their weddings.
Can't.
So their whole line of income. I mean, if anyone wants eggs, you know, if the a dozen hens they have can keep them afloat, but I don't think so. But yeah, they are.
Can I add to this?
Yeah.
I keep interrupting, Rob. I was going to say the other thing is, and we haven't talked about this, you know, Pam's talked about sort of bankers, and that is people want to help. People want to help other people. And so if you have a client, let's say, who is still working and hasn't really been affected financially by this, I would not be afraid of approaching them and saying, look, my back's up against the wall. I really don't know what I want to do. I'm going to come through this and be here on the other side, but I need some help right now. And can we work out an arrangement where I take a loan from you or an advance from you because I need to buy hay, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. And it makes you vulnerable. You know, it doesn't put you in a great place, but at the same time, people want to help people. People want to have relationships with people that are real. And, you know, people aren't ignorant of the situation. I mean, they know, you know, Margaret, I know people in Maryland that are hurting, you know, that are having no lessons and that they don't know what they're going to do, you know, if this goes on for another 45, 60, 90 days. And yes, you can do different things, but the question is, what do you do right now? Because you're burning through money, you know, because you still got the bills. So I would just say, you know, don't be afraid of talking to the people you have relationships with, you know, because, you know, we all know people who can help people. And sometimes that's the way things get done. You know, it's India, you know, I'm sure in the sponsorship world, you know, a lot of times it's people who know people who know people, and that's the relationship. And I think if you come at it and you say, look, I'm in a bit of a pickle right now and I need some help, people will be willing to help you before it's too late, before you really, you know, are desperate.
Absolutely. Oh, man.
I can't wait for this to be over.
Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But, like, we definitely need some other questions so we don't end on this.
I know.
Sorry.
Courtney bringing us down. Anybody got any drink recipes? My drink recipe is very simple. It's just take it from the bourbon bottle.
Well, 7 Up, we're good.
Yeah.
Well, so hey, listen. So we I think, Karen, have we gone through all the questions that we've gotten in?
I think so.
I'll tell you what. Let's.
I did.
Courtney, go ahead.
I was going to say I did have one upper level writer a question, and maybe Margaret in India could talk about it. I have my own ideas, but they've just created a syndicate. They had an advanced horse. They were very excited about it. They had big plans. They were going to qualify for Rolex this year, not Rolex, Land Rover, for Kentucky. And that was the big plan. And they want to know, now that sort of everything is very quiet, what do they do? You know, some of the people in the syndicate are horse people. Some of the people in the syndicate are not horse people. You know, is there a way that anybody has ideas on how to make it so that, you know, they can have them be involved, but they can't go to the barn, you know, they can't come pet the horse. They're doing video chats and they're doing that sort of thing, but they didn't know if there was any other out of the box ideas that anybody else had.
I'll start.
Margaret,
Go for
India.
it. So on the side of, again, the amateur owner that would be someone like me, right? That I would buy into a horse. And I know that buying into that syndicate, I'm not buying in for Kentucky. I'm not buying in for one show. I'm not buying in for a couple shows. I'm in for the long haul. And I think for someone that does that, they want that connection. And it really goes back to that, and they want to feel a part of it. So with all of this, the videos, all of those things, and having long range goals and feeling appreciated, that and I actually have looked into this, and one person made me feel like I was just going to pay the bills and I wouldn't be able to have any connection to that. And that's not of interest to me. I want to know about the horse, and I want to feel connected to the rider and the horse, and know that I'm in for the long haul. So don't underestimate the people that have purchased into the syndicate to think that they're just in it for Kentucky, because they probably know that they're in this for a long time. And it's really the feeling of being part of a team. and that's this whole thing of being connected and coming up with creative ways to help them feel that. But just know that they're probably in this for the long haul. If they're not, they're going to be tough to deal with regardless. If they're just in it for one event, it's going to be hard on them because they're putting everything into that. And in the long run, we know that's just not what it is with horses. But I would go with the positive and not underestimating their commitment to this, and helping them to feel connected to the horse. What is it doing? Wearing that helmet cam. What's it doing today? I mean, people like to see them rolling out in the field, and muddy, and they like to we love to see that. And Courtney, what you said about I've done this a lot where I have 3 hours at the barn, and it's a lot to get everything done and be out of there from 12 to 3. And I have to be there at 12 and I have to leave at 3. And some days I just can't do it. And we're really fortunate. We have a beautiful cross-country field, and I'm able to just go and hack out there by myself. And it's helped me to fall in love with my horses again and to have that connection. So I know that's a little bit of a side note, but that's just, that's kind of my opinion, that I think that the syndicate owners are really in it for the long haul.
And I'll speak a little bit to the non-horse people that you might have on your syndicate. Go ahead and take this time to show them why we do this. And you can do that in more serious ways, showing them the horses grazing, in the sunset or something if you want to get fancy. Or you can do silly things like send the syndicate members messages from the horse. There's a really funny app called My Talking Pet. It is hysterical, and no one will not laugh if you send them a video of the horse talking to them. So just kind of get creative with stuff like that. And, now is the time, even though we don't have the horse shows that have the sponsor tents and the course walks and this and that, show those non-horse people why we wake up every morning, regardless of the weather, to go out to the barn and take care of these horses. And on the other side of this, they're going to have such a better understanding of it.
I love it. I'm curious who I know you're not going to say, but I'm really curious what type of eventer would say, hey, just give me your money and you're not part of the syndicate. Like that, I'd be surprised how many syndicate shares they actually sell doing that, because I don't know anybody who would sign up for that thing. Courtney, what do you think about that marketing strategy?
Probably not for me.
I will not name names, but I have had professionals contact me asking me for help to put together syndicates. And when I get down to it, at the end of the day, I have to say to them, like, I don't have a list of rich people that I can just say, hey, pick up the phone, you should go buy a share of this person's horse that you've never met. Like, that's just not how it works. No. I wish I did have a list of rich people that I could spread the wealth around, but I don't, and so it really is about the community, at the end of the day.
Yeah, learn how to deal with people.
Feeling appreciated. Yeah. I think that's what this whole thing is feeling appreciated. Yeah.
Building relationships. It all goes back to what you said early on, It's really about building relationships is the way I see it. And the people who are successful at it, they seem to be. Our house is crazy right now. We have the puppy barking, the old dog barking. We have a bunny because it's cold out. He's thumping because he's ticked off that the dogs are barking. This is. You should see the shit show going on at my house right now.
I just need more.
I like my cocktails up.
I don't have any yet.
You saw me break down and top off. This has been fantastic. I think
learned a lot.
I learned a ton. So how about this? In closing, first off, before we close out, does anyone have anything that they would like to share that we didn't cover that they would like to talk about just before we wind it down? Does Yeah,
If
they're
one
Indian.
thing. If one thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
let India go first.
So this is
No, India first.
what I say. This is a time to be really bold and do things that are way out of your comfort zone. And I'm going to go on the sponsor side. As a rider or event or a venue, now is the time to ask for sponsorships. You would be shocked at the companies who would love to connect with riders and events that are, even virtual, whatever. They're looking for creative ways too. So be bold. Think about what do you eat every morning? What do you drink? What do you drive? What do you wear? What tennis shoes do you wear? Think about those things and be bold. Somebody knows somebody somewhere. They're all the thing that sometimes people forget. They're just people behind the brands. They're just people, and they're trying to promote their brand just like you're trying to find support. So be bold in that. Really just get creative and put it out there and ask. Put it on social media. Does anybody know somewhere at whatever?
gotcha.
So that's my closing.
Love it. It's scary putting yourself out there. It's
Go get 'em.
it is, and something that I've learned is, if there's that phone call that you're nervous to make, you probably really should make it. When it comes to asking for help or when we do interviews, many times it's just us reaching out to people who, we're fans of all these writers and people that we reach out to and sponsors and things of that sort. And I heard it. Again, you guys talk about listening to podcasts. Of course, I listen to podcasts. What really makes you nervous about picking up the phone, that's really the phone call you should make. Because generally you're nervous because you know that is the impactful call that you can make. And so it doesn't hurt to get out there and really put yourself out there. And that's how we've gotten about 95 of our 108 guests so far that we've done in our podcast. And what we find is, and what we try to do with our podcast is we try to show that people are normal people, People like Courtney. She came on, we were scared to death. Courtney comes on and she just is a normal gal, So cake ball bacon Courtney out there. So I was like, Courtney, what did you have to add to the combo at the end here?
I was just going to say, and this goes with what India is saying, is be creative. Go out there and don't be afraid to fail. I think so much of today's lifestyle in so many ways is you have to be perfect and you have to show this and you have to do that and you have to, look a certain way and you have to be a certain person. People don't buy it. People want you to be authentic. They want you to be transparent. They want you to be honest. They want you to have flaws. They want you to have all of those things. And so you have to be bold and you have to be creative and you have to be vulnerable, and in that place of being vulnerable, you're going to find that there's some braveness, and some things you really find that will serve you, once spring, arrives, once
Absolutely.
the light is back here and, once we're not dealing with this, because there will be a new normal.
Yep.
None of the way we have done things in the past will probably all change. And so you got to be willing to put yourself out there. The internet changed so much of our lives and what we did. Can you imagine going through this without the internet? Talk about dark times.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so be creative, be bold, like India said, and put yourself out there. The worst thing that happens is someone says no. That's the worst thing that happens.
Yep.
I haven't heard of a
It's not
single
bad.
writer.
It's not going to kill you.
I've never heard a sponsor ever say, "Hey, could you believe this writer over here asked for sponsorship and we turn them down?" It doesn't happen. So just throw it out there. You ask, what's the worst that can happen? You don't get it, but you open that line of communication and it goes from there. So, anyone else have any closing, comments or remarks before we wind this thing down? No.
Thank
I
you
don't
for
know
having
if
us.
you guys-
Well, and
can
let's-
you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go through
Okay.
and let's just, in closing, let's just make sure everyone gets to say again, their business, and how do people contact us? So, Margaret, let's start with you. Margaret, you, again, thank you so much. You were the mastermind behind putting this together, so thank you so much. You organized this whole panel. All we did was turn on the recorder.
Well, I think you can see why I asked each of these people to be here.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
that's the
Some
night, you know.
wonderful people.
No one wants to listen to me ramble on all the time. But, you know, I think, like everyone was saying, now's not the time to be quiet. You know, now's the time to go out, be active, you know, be empathetic, you know, put that out there, that you have empathy, that you're competent, and then just go from there and, you know, rely on your community to help us all get through this.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And Margaret, how do people get in contact with you if they have questions or if they want to maybe, you know?
Sure. So it's, you can find me, anything is at mythiclanding.com, or, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, website. It's all mythiclanding.com. You can search my name, Margaret Rizzo McKelvey, and you can find me that way as well.
And we even did a podcast.
Yes,
just
we
saying,
did.
just
We
saying,
did.
Aiken, we'll link that.
Yeah,
up too.
you did.
Yeah.
I did. I will tell you guys, I did have one or two people actually called me saying, I listened to your podcast.
Oh,
Can
good.
you help me with my business?
Nice.
That's what it's
And
all
I was
about.
like, yes, Major League Eventing is making it happen.
The impact. It's the impact. We've helped people sell horses. We've helped people get
Sponsors?
We've had people get students.
Yep.
We had one person. She messaged us and she said that she's using us to kind of vet her future trainer. So and then she was like, "Can you get some more people from California on?" Because she was looking at California. But you know, that's what we try to do. Is we really want to bring back benefits. So enough about us, Karen.
Yes.
Stop patting yourself on the
Okay.
back. Pam, could you tell us again in closing, and how do people get a hold of you if they have bookkeeping services that they're looking for?
Right. So Margaret set up my website. She did a great job. So Solve Bookkeeping is my website. And on there, what I've done is I've taken and put a referral source. So all of my clients who their businesses, and we all are on there. So it's like it takes a village. We put everybody's business, what they do on there. And a lot of barns, you know, these people, when they leave, they have another life. They go to an outside job or whatever. And sometimes you don't know what it is. So we put together a list at the barn of what everybody does outside of the barn. So if somebody's looking for a real estate agent, or somebody's looking for, an artist or whatever, we are within our village. We let everybody know. So that's one thing that we do to try and get everybody to know what's happening. But yeah, Solve Bookkeeping. Just talk to Margaret. She'll set you up and tell you what I'm doing.
Awesome, fantastic. Thank you so much, Courtney. How do people get a hold of you? And any closing words?
Just be brave and know that you're not alone, and that pick up the phone, call someone, call one of us. I mean, we're all around, happy to talk to you and really be of service. I think, you just need to find joy in what you do. So, csquarefarm.com, Excel, Star Sporthorses.com, phone numbers are there, Instagram, all sorts of things. Yeah, that's me.
And when
and then we have a Gmail account, and you can get a hold of me there.
What's the Gmail?
I don't know. It depends what the USEF decides to do. Because it's funny, I was talking to an organizer today in Maryland, and they thought that perhaps we would be able to start competing in the southern states sooner than in the northern states. And they didn't know if the USEF was going to allow that. If they do, we'll probably stay down here and compete down here until competitions are started back up north. So Neil would like me home before the first week of June, because we have 2 foals due, but I don't know that he's going to get his way.
Neil's going to be up there.
He may be pulling out a couple of mares.
Neil's going to have the long gloves on.
Yeah.
He's going to be on baby duty. And by the way,
Anybody want to pull out mares, talk to me all.
again, Courtney was on. She was also a guest on the podcast previously. And for anyone who never heard that, Karen, Courtney, and myself all have the same stylist
Yeah,
So
Steve.
in solidarity, I'm letting my hair is much shorter than this typically, but so we're missing our Courtney because we're practically neighbors. So Courtney, thanks again for joining us.
There you go.
Yeah.
India,
No, thank you for having me.
awesome. India, closing words, and how do people get a hold of you?
So first, I wanted to just give y'all a shout out about how you thank your sponsors at the beginning of the podcast. I did not know that cowboy magic could also be used on human hair, but now I do, thanks to you. So I just want to say it's really cool how you guys do that. So I am actually not taking on any clients right now. Margaret and I are actually working on a project together that we will announce later. My email is indiawilkinson@comcast.net. I'm more than happy to give some complimentary consulting if anybody has some ideas. I'm so passionate about sponsorship marketing, as you can tell. Like, I believe that it is the absolute best way for a company to engage their consumers, their target market. It just, to me, it just is kind of part of me. So I'm more than happy to help people. indiawilkinson@comcast.net.
Awesome.
And I'm so grateful to be here. This was really fun. I'm really grateful that y'all included me. So thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Karen, I think another amazing Major League Event
Yes,
podcast is in the
absolutely.
books. Thank you so much. Thank you again,
Yeah, thank
everyone.
you.
So, Margaret,
Thank you for
Pam,
having us.
Courtney, India, thank you all so much. If there's any questions following this, if you can't get the answers directly, reaching out to the individual member of this dais, you can always hit us up at majorleagueeventing@gmail.com or Karen at majorleagueeventing.com or Rob at majorleagueeventing.com. And, so we will put this out both in video form so you can see all of these beautiful faces as well as my big old fat face. I'm like a thorn among roses, Karen. So, well, thank you all so much for being on this panel, and we really appreciate everything that you brought today for everyone, and I'm sure it's going to bring a lot of help to a lot of people.
I
Karen.
think so.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of that. That's all I listened to.
Oh, we got a puppy. Look at that pup.
Lucas.
Hey,
Lucas.
Lucas!
I couldn't help. Our dogs were going absolutely bonkers here for a few minutes. So
No, look.
let's see. We're having dog time.
Mine was barking, so mine's going to bed though.
Yeah. Let's see. We're gonna meet this one. There's Pam's
Look at
pup.
mine.
Oh, there we go. I'm usually much more professional.
This is Leia.
Normally we record in a different room, but it's this was different. So. Oh, there we go.
So much.
We'll bring Sparky. Come here. We'll bring Sparky. Old man Sparky. Here we go. Come here, Sparky. Sparky's an old guy. Come here. Hey,
Charlie's not allowed in.
Away from me. I could shut the door so he wasn't in here, and that's a first for her.
Oh my goodness, you're just
Sparky's old.
the right size.